Good morning and happy Tuesday. Today we're going to read part 1 of chapter 12. Chapter 12 is about 18 pages long, so we're going to split it up a little bit and get started. Where we last left off, Gregor was starting to come around to the idea of him being the warrior just because of the fact that if he does so, the Underlanders are going to help him rescue his dad with boots. And we also had a rider fly in at the very last moment and let everyone know that the rats are attacking and that King Gorger knows about Gregor. So we're going to go from there. Chapter 12. Sound the alarm! Shouted Vicus, and the place exploded in frantic activity. Hordes began blowing. People rushed in and out. Bats swooped in for orders and disappeared again without taking the time to land. Everyone ignored Gregor as they shifted into emergency mode. He wanted to ask Vicus what was going on, but the old man stood in the high hall in a blur of bat wings giving commands. Gregor went out on the balcony and could see regalia swarming like a beehive. Many rats were coming. The Underlanders were going into defense mode. Suddenly he realized they were at war. The terrifying thought and the height of the balcony made Gregor lightheaded. As he stumbled back inside, a strong hand caught his arm. Gregor the Overlander, prepare yourself, for we leave shortly, said Vicus. For where? Where are we going? Asked Gregor. To rescue your father, said Vicus. Now we can go with the rats attacking? Said Gregor. I mean, there's a war starting, right? Not any war. We believe it is the war foretold in the prophecy of Grey. The one that may bring about the complete annihilation of our people, said Vicus. Pursuing the quest for your father is your best hope of surviving it, said Vicus. I can take Boots, right? Asked Gregor. I mean, I'm taking her, he corrected himself. Yes, Boots shall come, said Vicus. What should I do? You said to prepare myself, asked Gregor. Vicus thought for a second and called Marith over. Take him to the museum. Let him choose whatever he thinks may aid him on this journey. Ah, here's the delegation from Troy, said Vicus, and he stepped into another storm of wings. Gregor ran after Marith, who had sprinted for the door. 3 staircases and several halls later, they arrived at a large chamber filled with loaded shelves. Here is that which has fallen from the overland. Remember, what you choose you must carry, instructed Marith, thrusting a leather bag with a drawstring into his hands. The shelves were filled with everything from baseballs to car tires. Gregor wished he had time to go through the stuff more carefully. Some of it must have been hundreds of years old. But time was a luxury he didn't have. So he tried to focus. What could he take that would help him on the trip? What did he need most in the Underland? Light! He found a flashlight in working condition and collected batteries from every electrical thing he could find. Something else caught his eye. It was a hard hat like construction workers wore, and there was a built-in light on the front, so they could see in the inky tunnels beneath New York City. He grabbed the hat and crammed it on his head. We must go, ordered Marith. We must get your sister and take flight. Gregor turned to follow him, and then he saw it. Root beer! An honest-to-goodness, unopened, only slightly dented can of root beer! It looked pretty new. He knew it was an extravagance, that he should only take essentials. But he had to have it. It was his favorite drink. Plus, it made him think of home. And so he stuffed the can in his bag. The nursery was nearby. Gregor ran in and saw Boots sitting happily among 3 Underlander toddlers having a tea party. For a second, he almost changed his mind and left her there. Wouldn't she be safer in the palace? But then he remembered the palace would soon be under siege by rats. Gregor knew he couldn't leave her to face that alone. Whatever happened, they would stay together. Dulcet quickly helped Gregor into a backpack and slid Boots inside. She fastened a small bundle to the base of the backpack. Catchcloths, she said. A few toys and some treats. Thanks, said Gregor, grateful someone had thought of the practical side of traveling with Boots. Fare you well, sweet Boots, said Dulcet, and she kissed the baby's cheek. Bye-bye, Dulcie, said Boots. See you soon. That was what they always parted with at Gregor's house. Don't worry, I'll be back. I'll see you soon. Yes, I will see you soon, said Dulcet, but her eyes filled with tears. Take care, Dulcet, said Gregor, giving her hand an awkward shake. Fly you high, Gregor the Overlander, she said. In the high hall, the mission was readying for departure. Several bats had lit on the ground and were being loaded with supplies. Gregor saw Henry hugging a painfully thin teenage girl goodbye. She was weeping uncontrollably despite his attempts to comfort her. The dreams, brother, she sobbed. They have worsened. Some terrible evil awaits you. Do not distress yourself, Nerissa. I have no plans to die, said Henry soothingly. There are evils beyond death, said his sister. Fly you high, Henry, fly you high. They embraced, and Henry swung up onto his velvety black bat. Gregor watched nervously as the girl came his way. He could never think of the right things to say when people cried, but she had pulled herself together by the time she reached him. She held out a small roll of paper. For you, Overlander, she said. Fly you high. And before he could answer, she had moved away, leaning on the wall for support. He opened the paper, which wasn't paper but some sort of dried animal skin, and saw that the prophecy of Gray had been carefully written upon it. That's so weird, thought Gregor. He had been wishing he could read it again to maybe figure more of it out. He had meant to ask Vicus, but had forgotten in the rush. How did she know I wanted this? He murmured to Boots. Nerissa knows many things. She has the gift, said a boy, mounting a golden bat beside him. On second glance, Gregor realized it was Luxa, but her hair had been cropped off close to her head. What happened to your hair? Asked Gregor, stuffing the prophecy in his pocket. Long locks are dangerous in battle, said Luxa carelessly. That's too bad. I mean, it looks good short, too, said Gregor quickly. Luxa burst out laughing. Gregor the Overlander! Ha ha! Think you my beauty is of any such matter in these times? Gregor's face felt hot with embarrassment. I mean, that's not what I meant. Luxa just shook her head at Henry, who was grinning back at her. The Overlander speaks true, cousin. You look like a shorn sheep. All the better, said Luxa, for who would attack a sheep? Bah, said Boots. Bah! And Henry laughed so hard he almost fell off his bat. Sheep says bah, Boots said defensively, which set him off again. Gregor almost laughed too. For a moment he had felt as if he were among friends. But these people had a long way to go before he could consider them friends. To cover his slip, he concentrated on finding a comfortable way to carry his leather bag that would leave his hands free. He tied it to the side strap of the pack. When he glanced up, he found Luxa looking at him curiously. What wear you on your head, Overlander? She asked. It's a hard hat, with light, said Gregor. He flicked it on and off to show her. He could tell she was itching to try it, but she didn't want to ask. Gregor quickly weighed his options in his head. True, they weren't friends, but it was better to get along with her if he could. He needed her to get to his dad. Gregor held out the hat. Here, check it out. Luxa tried to appear indifferent, but her fingers worked the light switch eagerly. How do you keep the light inside without air? Does it not get hot on your head? She asked. Well, it runs on a battery. It's electricity. And there's a layer of plastic between the light and your head. You can try it on if you want, said Gregor. Without hesitation, Luxa popped the hat on her head. Vicus has told me of electricity, she said, and she shot the beam of light around the room before returning it to Gregor reluctantly. Here, you must save your fuel. You will begin a new fashion, said Henry cheerfully. He grabbed one of the small stone torches off the wall and laid it on top of his head. Flames seemed to be shooting out of his forehead. What do you think, Luxa? He asked, showing her his profile with exaggerated haughtiness. Your hair is alight! She suddenly gasped and pointed. Henry dropped the torch and beat at his hair as Luxa went into hysterics. Realizing it was a joke, Henry caught her in a headlock and rubbed her short hair with his knuckles while she laughed helplessly. For a minute, they could have been a couple of kids in the overland. Just a brother and sister like Gregor and Lizzie wrestling around. Vicus strode across the hall. "You two are in a merry mood, considering we are at war," he said with a frown as he vaulted onto his bat. "It isn't only an excess of spirit, Vicus," said Henry, releasing Luxa. "Save your spirit. You will need it where you are going." "Ride you with me, Gregor," said Vicus, extending a hand, and Gregor swung up behind him on his big gray bat. Boots kicked his sides with anticipation. "Me ride too? Me ride?" she chirped. "Mount up!" called Vicus, and Henry and Luxa leapt onto their bats. Gregor could spot Solivet and Merith preparing to leave also. Merith was riding a bat he hadn't seen before. Probably his other bat was still recovering. "To the air!" ordered Solivet, and the 5 bats lifted off in a V formation. We're going to stop there for today. We'll continue on to see what happens next tomorrow. Hope everyone has a wonderful day. I'll see you later.